Take our son. Raise him to question fear. Raise him to love bravely.
You cannot blame my wife for the sky. If the river is angry, let it speak. That is not the way. The prophecy named the bride. The prophecy fulfills itself. If the river wants what was promised, let it take me!
The night he chose to die for her, the river was silent. Not calm, not peaceful, silent, like something listening. Before we continue,
if you are returning to this story, thank you. Your likes, your comments, your shares have carried this tale to this very moment. And if this is your first time here, welcome to African Folktales by Precious Edwards, our storytelling family. Subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and journey with us, because stories like this are not just told, they are experienced. Now, let us return to Ilú-Ayero.
By then, the people of Ilú-Ayero had forgotten what rain smelled like. The earth had split open in long, thirsty cracks that ran like scars across the farmland. Cassava leaves hung limp. Yam tendrils shriveled before maturity. The once proud Ayero river that had roared the night Morenike was born now crawled weakly between its banks like a wounded serpent. Fishermen who once sang at dawn now returned in silence, their nets dry and brittle against their shoulders. At the marketplace near the old baobab tree, women argued over bowls of shrinking gari. Voices that are once bargained playfully now snapped in frustration. Even the harmattan wind felt heavier than usual, as though dust itself carried accusation. And everywhere she walked, whispers followed her. Morenike heard them. She always did, but she walked with her head high through the sandy paths of Ilú-Ayero, her child tied gently against her back, and Tunde's hand wrapped firmly around hers. He had once laughed at prophecy. Now he no longer laughed. The day the last well near the shrine of Ayero dried up completely, the elders gathered beneath the ancient Iroko tree at the village square. Baale Adesoye's voice trembled as he spoke.
Through Ayema and beyond. It marked our planting seasons. Now it shrinks before our eyes.
The high priest, Baba Ifara, stood beside him, white robes brushing the dust. His beaded staff caught the fading sunlight like a silent warning.
The river does not forget. It only waits.
Everyone knew what he meant. Across the square, Morenike's mother, Aduke, clutched her wrapper tighter. Little did she realize that before another moon passed, her daughter's marriage would be tested by something older than tradition itself.
You cannot blame my wife for the sky. If the river is angry, let it speak.
Tunde stepped forward.
If the river speaks, it speaks through signs. And the sign was her birth.
If this part of the story is stirring something in you already, pause for a second and tell me in the comments. Do you think love should bow to tradition or challenge it? Because in Ilú-Ayero, that question was no longer theoretical. It was survival.
That night, long after the village lamps had gone dark, Tunde walked alone toward the river shrine. The path from his compound passed the abandoned fishing huts, through dry reeds that once hid laughing children. He knelt before the shrine of Ayero, beneath the massive silk cotton tree, whose roots gripped the earth like ancient fingers.
At first, I thought you were only water. Then I thought you were only a story. But now I know you are listening.
The river barely moved. The air shifted. You were promised a bride, but she is my wife. She is the mother of my child. If something must be taken, take me. No thunder answered him. No lightning split the sky. Only a single ripple, small, deliberate, and then stillness. But what the people of Ilú-Ayero didn't know was that destiny had just been confronted, not with fear, but with choice. 3 nights later, thunder cracked across a sky that carried no clouds. Morenike woke abruptly inside their mud-walled home. The baby did not cry. That frightened her more than anything. Outside, dogs howled. The river was swelling, without rain, without storms. Water crept beyond its banks near the eastern footpath leading toward the cocoa groves. It moved like something alive. Villagers poured out in fear.
It has come for her! It has come
The
for
high
her!
priest appeared, staff
The
raised.
prophecy fulfills itself.
But something was different. The river did not rage wildly as it had the night she was born. It advanced slowly, almost patiently, like a hand reaching. Morenike stepped forward, bare feet touching wet soil. The water reached toward her ankles. Her mother screamed. Tunde held her wrist.
Maybe this was always the price.
She whispered, tears trembling, but unshed. No. The river roared louder. Palm fronds bent violently. The shrine cloth snapped in wild motion. Villagers fell to their knees, chanting prayers that tangled in fear. And then Tunde
If the
stepped
river
forward.
wants what was promised, let it take me!
Silence fell. Even the thunder paused. Baba Ifara's eyes
That is
widened.
not the way. The prophecy named the bride. Then perhaps the prophecy was incomplete.
Tunde replied. Gasps rippled through the crowd. He turned to Morenike, pressing his forehead gently against hers.
Take our son. Raise him to question fear. Raise him to love bravely.
We will find another way.
She shook her head violently.
There is no other way. Not if the land must live.
He said softly. He stepped into the water, waist deep, steady. The current circled him, not pulling, waiting.
You were promised a bride, but I offer you a husband.
He said. Lightning flashed across a cloudless sky. The water spiraled upward around him. Morenike screamed his name. Some villagers tried to rush forward, but the water surged, forming a barrier none could cross. The priest's face changed. This had never been spoken in the prophecy. And then something else happened. The baby, who had not cried, suddenly reached toward the river and laughed, a sound so pure it cut through the chaos. The river hesitated. For one heartbeat, the waters calmed around Tunde as though reconsidering. Hope
I love
flickered
you.
in Morenike's eyes. But Tunde closed his own, and the water swallowed him whole. Stillness, not a ripple, not a wave. The village held its breath. Morenike collapsed to her knees at the riverbank. Then a drop, then another. Rain, soft at first, then steady, then heavy. It poured across Ilú-Ayero, across the cracked farmlands, stretching toward Ogbomo roads, across the abandoned fishing docks, across the shrine itself. The drought ended in a single night. The river receded peacefully. Where Tunde had stood, the water lay calm, almost luminous under the rain. Baba Ifara fell to his knees. I misunderstood, he whispered. The river did not demand a bride. It demanded proof. Seasons returned. Green pushed stubbornly through once broken soil. Markets filled again. Laughter returned to the docks, and no more daughters were promised. Only prayers were offered. Years passed. Morenike never remarried. She raised her son beside the river, not in fear, but in reverence. And sometimes, when the evening sun turned the Ayero to molten gold, she would feel the faintest ripple at her feet, not threatening, not hungry, just present, as though remembering. One evening, her son, now nearly a man, asked, "Mother,
Was he afraid or brave? Yes, but he loved us more than he feared the river.
and if this story made you feel something, let that feeling stay with you. Like the video, Share it with someone who believes love can change fate. Subscribe if you haven't already. Because here, we do not just tell stories, we preserve legends. And from that day on, the river no longer asked for brides, only courage.